Guess who's waking up over here?
Time to cash out.
Will you get it over with?
Maybe cons kill people without looking them in the face. But I ain't a fink. Dig? You've made your last delivery, kid. Sorry you got twisted up in this scene. From where you're kneeling must seem like an 18-carat run of bad luck. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
Hello. Many video game developers back in the day refrained from using the actual name of firearms because of licensing and copyright concerns. A good example of this is the original Counter-Strike, where we see names like Nighthawk, CV-47, Magnum Sniper Rifle, just to name a few, replacing the Desert Eagle, AK-47, and OP, or Arctic Warfare Police. The firearms of New Vegas use a different but familiar naming scheme for the time, usually by first indicating the caliber followed by the type of firearm, as in the case of the 357 Magnum revolver. So in this series of videos, I will try to cover each of the firearms in the game, what their real-life counterparts are, and how they operate. I will be excluding the energy and futuristic weapons because yeah, no way. The 357 is based on the 1873 Colt Single Action Army. You've probably seen this revolver in classic Western movies like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and The Magnificent Seven. It's closely associated with the Wild West and the American frontier, where it was used by lawmen, ranchers, and outlaws alike. As the name implies, it is a single-action revolver chambered in 357 Magnum. Single action refers to what action the trigger performs while actively being pulled, which in this case is to release the seer holding the hammer. To load a single action revolver, follow these steps. Open the loading gate on the right side of the frame, pull the hammer halfway back to freely rotate the cylinder, load each chamber with cartridges, close the gate and pull the hammer back all the way. Now you're ready to shoot. Apply steady pressure to the trigger, which releases the seer. The hammer will advance forward with the firing pin striking the primer on the cartridge. To continue firing, you will have to work the hammer to the rear each time. To unload spent casings, open the gate while the hammer is half cocked, and use the ejector rod located under the muzzle. Back to the Single Action Army itself. It played a critical role during America's westward expansion and Manifest Destiny. It was more technologically advanced, replacing old designs like the Remington 1858 and Colt 1860 percussion revolvers, making it one of the first successful mass-produced cartridge revolvers that set a precedent on quality and functionality. Today, it's more of a collector's piece and ceremonial handgun. As for the unique 357 revolver Lucky, it's a Colt Single Action Army with a black metal build and gold etchings on the barrel, frame, and cylinder, with an ivory grip. The gun is covered in gambling motifs, and a silver plate on the ejector rod bears the name of the gun as well. The art of gun engraving can be traced back to the 15th century, where skilled craftsmen would intricately carve patterns and motifs on the firearms. In the context of engraving revolvers, that only became popular during the late 19th century. The .44 Magnum revolver is based on the double-action Smith & Wesson Model 29 from the mid-1950s, famously used by Clint Eastwood in Dirty Harry. The double-action mechanism allows the trigger to both cock and release the hammer, However, you can still cock the hammer manually for a lighter trigger pull. To load the Model 29 or most double-action revolvers, you need to press the cylinder release latch, usually located on the left side of the frame. This will swing out the cylinder, load the chambers, and push the cylinder back into the frame. You're now ready to fire. To unload, expose the cylinder and push the ejector rod towards yourself. And keep in mind that this will release all the cartridges, spent and unspent. So a tactic you could use is to cover the unspent rounds with your fingers and then ejecting. The mysterious Magnum is a Model 29 with a pearlescent grip and silver metal finish with etched engravings. Nothing too special to be said, people just like personalizing their firearms. The 45 Auto pistol is based on the M1911A1, chambered in God's given caliber, 45 ACP. It's a short, recoil-operated semi-automatic pistol. The pistol has followed the USA through 2 world wars, the Korean War, and up to the end of the Vietnam War in 1975, where it was slowly phased out during the early 1980s. The short recoil action is found on almost all semi-automatic pistols today that use a high-pressure cartridge like 9mm, 45 ACP, 10mm, etc. The principle works on locking and unlocking the barrel and bolt, so I will try to explain it plainly in 5 stages. Stand by. The bolt is locked to the barrel and both are fully forward. Upon firing, gases from the propellant will create a force that recoil the barrel and bolt, which will travel a short distance still locked together. Near the end, they will unlock from each other. The barrel stops, but the bolt continues to the rear, ejecting the spent casing and putting pressure on the recoil spring. The bolt returns forward under the force of the recoil spring, picking up a new round from the magazine and loading it into the barrel. The bolt locks into the barrel and forces the barrel to return the battery, meaning the breech is properly locked up and ready to fire. If you're loading an empty M1911 with the slide forward, you'll first need to insert a magazine into the grip with the pistol. Next, you will need to pull the slide back. It should return on its own after reaching the rear, chambering around. If the slide is already to the rear, when you're trying to reload, you can still pull it back. Or, alternatively, you can use the slide release located on the left side of the frame. The M1911A1 was a rework of the original M1911 design because of battlefield feedback they received from World War I. It uses single stack magazines where the rounds are fixated in a single column. A light shining in darkness is based on the Colt New Agent. One of the standout features of the Colt New Agent is its compact size. It has a short barrel and slide, reducing overall length and making it easier to conceal. It's perfect for concealed carry and personal defense. Not only that, but it also incorporates a short recoil system and is chambered in 45 ACP, but with a smaller magazine capacity. The one in-game has a skeletonized hammer and trigger. Snakeskin covers the grip, and on both sides of the slide etched in Greek are the words, "When combined, and the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth not." John chapter 1, verse 5. The police pistol is based on the Colt New Service double-action revolver chambered in .357 Magnum. It was manufactured from 1898 to 1941. The .45 Colt version was adopted by the US Army as the M1909 revolver, later replaced by the 1911. Fun fact, the Colt M1917 revolvers made during World War I to help address the shortage of M19 pistols. It was essentially a modified version of the Colt New Service revolver, designed to use the 45 ACP cartridge. The hunting revolver seems to be the Magnum Search BFR, chambered in .45-70 Government. However, there are several discrepancies between the gun in-game and its real-life counterpart. In-game, the revolver is a double-action revolver with a swing-out cylinder. The gun in real life is a single-action revolver and is loaded through a loading gate similar to the .357 Magnum. The BFR itself is based on the Colt single-action Army with a longer cylinder to accommodate rifle or larger handgun calibers. The Ranger Sequoia is a scopeless version of the Magnum BFR that is given to NCR Rangers. It has a black finish, gold engravings, and features the NCR bear and Ranger's symbol on the wooden grip. There is a brass plate on the underside that says 20 years, and the phrases "for honorable service" and "against all tyrants" are engraved on different sides of the barrel. The 9mm pistol is based on the Browning High Power. The design was finished by this guy after John Browning passed away in 1926. It was originally developed for the needs of the French army, who were looking for a more versatile and powerful handgun for their troops. The design was commissioned by the Belgian arms factory FN. FN was constantly improving the design throughout the years since Browning's passing, but ultimately France didn't adopt the pistol. However, it did serve the Belgian army and other clients during the 1930s and 40s. Axis and allied nations alike were using the pistol. For example, after the capitulation of Belgium in May 1940, the Nazis used the FN factory to produce high power, albeit under another designation. The Canadians did the same after FN sent them the plans for the weapon. The final design in 1935 featured a magazine with a 13-round capacity, short recoil operation, and a single action trigger. The Maria is a custom high power made for Benny. It has a picture of Our Lady of Guadalupe, a famous Catholic figure, painted on the pearl grip. The whole pistol is beautifully decorated with ivy and floral patterns, and it has a shiny nickel finish with a golden trigger. The Silence 22 pistol is based on the 22-45 variant of the Ruger Mark III rimfire pistol. The original Ruger standard model was developed by Bill Ruger after acquiring Japanese Nambu pistols from returning US Marines. The first prototype was released in 1949. The look is similar to the German Luger P08 pistol, but the mechanism was copied from the Nambu. So what is a rimfire pistol, or firearm in general? Simply put, it's a firearm that uses rimfire ammunition. Rimfire cartridges have their primer located in a hollow rim protruding from the base of the casing. The firing pin crushes the rim against the barrel breech to ignite the propellant. This is the only rimfire pistol in the game, the others all being centerfire. It also uses the blowback mechanism to cycle the action. When a blowback firearm is fired, the expanding gases from the ignited cartridge push the bullet forward through the barrel. Simultaneously, the pressure from the fired round pushes backward against the bolt, which is initially held in place by a spring. As the pressure builds up, it overcomes the resistance of the spring, causing the bolt to move backwards, unlocking it from its locked position. Once unlocked, the bolt begins to move backwards, extracting the spent casing from the chamber. As the bolt continues its backward movement, it also compresses the recoil spring, storing energy for the next cycle. Near the end of its backwards travel, the bolt reaches its maximum backwards position, and the recoil spring pushes it forward again. As the bolt moves forward, it picks up a new round from the magazine and chambers it into the firing position. The firearm is now ready to fire again, and the process repeats itself for each subsequent shot. The 22 long rifle cartridge is by far the most popular caliber for rimfire firearms. So, those were all the pistols of Fallout New Vegas. Most of them are inspired from designs of the late 19th and early 20th century. These firearms are still very popular today because of their reliability and notoriety. I hope I've helped you understand how these firearms operate and explain their terminology well. If this video does well, I will continue the series, so if you want to see more, subscribe and leave a like. God bless.